Hello everyone, this is Shannon from That's So Po, and today I'm doing week 15 of my 2021 reads. This week I read 3 short books and I DNF'd one other. Timestamps and content warnings are in the description box below. The first book that I finished was Look Both Ways by Jason Reynolds, illustrated by Alexander Nabaum. This is a middle grade contemporary novel that is basically a set of interconnected short stories about all of these different kids in the same middle school, same neighborhood. This is a book that Sush, my husband, gave me for Christmas, and I have been really anticipating it. It's one of Jason Reynolds' new releases, and I really like his writing. I loved this just as much as I've loved his other works. He writes middle grade with such heart, and that addresses a lot of the sorts of issues that middle grade kids go through. This really tackles quite a lot of different difficult content topics, so do check out the description box below where I list some of those. But just for example, dealing with a parent who is ill, or dealing with bullying, or dealing with anxiety, all sorts of really interesting things. And it's so neat to see all of these different kids who have some sort of tangential connection to each other because they go to the same school, but they each are living very separate lives. And it's got such a sense of fun and play in the way that Reynolds writes, and just so much heart. I definitely love this book. I would give it 5 out of 5 stars and recommend that you check it out as well. The next book I finished is This Is What I Know About Art by Kimberly Drew. This is another book in the Penguin Pocket Change Collective series, which is a series of very, very short little books, 50 to 100 pages, that are talking about social justice issues. Kimberly Drew is an artist and activist. And this book is really a mini memoir of her move into art and into activism. And it talks about how she started studying it and doing internships in college, and then the jobs that she had after college, sort of working in different art galleries and museums and institutions, and sort of the issues that being Black and queer really brought for her in being a part of these very elitist institutions. I really liked a lot of understanding of that interplay between art and elitism and social justice, although I do think that this wasn't quite as strong as the other book that I read in this series, Beyond the Gender Binary by Alok Vaid-Menon. I still thought it had some interesting things to say, so I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. And lastly, I finished a picture book, Swashby in the Sea by Beth, Ferry, illustrated by Juana Martinez-Neal. I heard about this from Priscilla at Bookie, who I will link below. I always love her picture book recommendations, and this one was just so sweet. So this is the story of a grumpy old sea captain who just wants to be left alone, and some neighbors who move into the cottage next door, a little girl and her grandmother, and really him warming up to them. It's a very sweet story, and I loved the way that language was used in this. It was a very playful use of language, and I really loved the illustrations. The illustrations are just absolutely beautiful and adorable. I loved the kind of seaside colors that were used, and just how sweet the whole book was. I really thoroughly enjoyed this, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Then I did DNF one book this week, which was The Book of Salt by Monique Truong. I was buddy reading this with Anna Marie at Actual Spinster, who I will link below, and I was so sad to DNF because I really had been looking forward to buddy reading with them. We have been friends since I first started my channel, and I really love everything that they have to say. However, the book just wasn't working out for me, and that could be due to the mood that I'm in. I have been DNFing left and right, so it really may not be the book's fault. I know that Adri at Perpetualpages, who I will also link below, really loved this book. So again, it could just be me right now, but I found that I couldn't get into it. So I only got 14% in before I had to DNF it. The story, though, is very interesting. It's set in the 1930s in Paris and follows a queer Vietnamese man who's an immigrant to Paris and a chef, and he ends up being the chef for Gertrude Stein. And so it's a very fascinating time period, really interesting characters, but the writing style was something that I just couldn't get into. It was very, very flowery, very descriptive, and there were also a lot of jumps in time and perspective in the beginning of the book, so it felt kind of stream of consciousness, but that shift between perspectives and between timelines was confusing on top of the wording itself just being hard to get into. So I decided that it just wasn't going to work for me. However, I know that Anna Marie is going to continue reading and Adri loved it, so this may just be one of those cases where I'm not in the right mood to read this kind of book. Okay, so that's everything that I read and DNF'd this week. If you guys have read any of these, if you have any thoughts, any recommendations, anything at all, just leave me a comment down below.